It was a big story not only in England but across the world. Of course, Manchester United against Liverpool postponed after protests outside of Old Trafford spilled onto the pitch, meaning that they could not guarantee the safety of the players or indeed the staff ahead of a kick-off. Well, Mark Ogden and Julien Laurens, of course, were both there reporting on this. Boys, I suppose just an update. Jules, you seem to have some new lavish curtains in your life. Has this got anything to do with what's happened in the last 24 hours?
Unfortunately not. I'm just in a hotel in Manchester, not far from where Oggy lives. I didn't get the invite to stay with Oggy and his family, so I had to stay in this hotel, not far from the station and the Etihad, with, I have to say, disgusting curtains. Yeah.
They're lovely curtains. I like them. Right, come on, before people start getting angry. What has happened over the last 24 hours, Mark?
Well, it's been a bank holiday in the UK today, so a lot of people have taken the day off, including the administrative staff at the Premier League and the FA. But what has happened is that the Premier League and the FA have both said that they are investigating what happened yesterday. They're seeking the observations of the clubs. It's basically a mechanism to buy a little bit of time to investigate properly, to find out what actually happened. But the Premier League have also, separately but also in a kind of way connected to it, have issued a statement today talking about how they're going to implement a new charter for football which will protect the pyramid and hopefully prevent any kind of attempted Super League breakaway in the future. So it's not connected directly to yesterday, but it has a connection in the sense that, you know, yesterday's protests were all kind of sparked by the Super League breakaway attempts 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we'll talk about that Charles' statement in a moment. Mark, what's the temperature with regards to the sympathy towards the fans, anger that they caused the game to be cancelled? Like, where are we in that?
Yeah, there's been a real split. I think the people have got different opinions on this, have had entrenched opinions anyway, but the view is that, you know, protesting is fine and having an issue against the owners is fine, but there was a sense that they stepped over the mark by... It turned violent, you know. Police officers were injured. There was one that had to have surgery on the last night. One had a dislocated cheekbone. So I think the violence has lost them a lot of sympathy. And I think, you know, this was a protest against the owners specifically, rather than against the Super League. It was a protest against the Glazers, who have, in the eyes of the fans, taken money out of the club on a prolonged basis for 16 years now. So it was a very specific protest. And I think, you know, a lot of non-Man United supporters lose a little bit of sympathy for them on the basis that, you know, Man United are second. Only Man City have spent more than Man United in the last 7-8 years in the Premier League. But saying that, you know, the Man United fans have got a right to protest in the sense that they feel that the money that has been put into the club is being, you know, wrongly diverted to pay interest payments, to pay dividends. You know, let's say that Man United tried to sign Erling Haaland this summer. Let's say it costs £160 million. Well, if the Glazers or Man United say they can't afford that, the fans will say, well, if you weren't paying £80 million a year in interest payments or dividends, then we could afford it. So the fans have a right to protest, but I think the way they did it yesterday, the way it turned out, that it got the game called off, has probably lost the sympathies of the neutrals, shall we say.
I suppose, Jules, on the flip side of that, if there were just a protest outside of Old Trafford, we wouldn't be talking about it to the extent that we are.
That's right. They wanted the game to be postponed. I mean, once it was announced that it was postponed, the ones who were still left at the Lorry Hotel, who you know had been protesting where the players were staying, were singing, "You will play when we want or when we tell you." Clearly, the aim was to get this game postponed and have an impact with that decision made. I said on the show this morning with Mark and Gab that I think the power of this protest would have been much bigger had the game been played and someone, let's say like Marcus Rashford, had said, "We've heard the fan, we've heard their voice, with them, we are with you in this, we're backing you up." You know, against what the Glazers represent right now at the club and the direction that they took this club for in the last 15 years. We've said the stadium used to be one of the greatest in the country, same with the training ground, same with the team, the greatest players in the world. And 15 years on, it's not the case anymore. They haven't touched the stadium. It's old, same with the training ground. The team is by far not the greatest in Europe, not the greatest players anymore there. And despite the money spent, and badly spent, as Mark just said, because they also appointed the wrong people in key positions, this is where we are now. And you can understand the frustration and the anger from the fans.
Mark, how much will this coverage fuel future protests?
Well, this is the question that we have to find an answer to, because it's not just Man United who have got issues with their owners. You know, Newcastle United have got a long-term opposition to Mike Ashley, their owner. The Arsenal fans have obviously come out in recent days and weeks to protest against Stan Kroenke, their owner. So I think if this turns out to be something that gains traction for Man United fans, it actually has an impact, then I think other fans will follow. So the Premier League, I guess, have got to be careful on this, because if they punish United by maybe points deductions, then fans of other clubs may feel that the only way to hurt their own owners is to have point deductions with them too. So it may encourage other fans to do similar things. I think it'll be harder to do it. I think the police now and the stewarding aspect of it will be a lot tighter, a lot tougher. But still, if there is a reward for stopping a game being played in the eyes of the fans, then it's a very dangerous road to travel, because the Premier League don't want to encourage other groups of fans to protest. So this is one reason why they've issued this charter today, to try and offer fans a dialogue route to resolving their problems. But you know, let's be honest, that we've seen protests over the years with fans, we've seen lots of dialogue, and nothing actually happens. In the eyes of the fans often do get left behind in terms of ticket prices, kick-off times. They feel that their game has been taken away from them, and I don't see how dialogue with the Premier League or the FA or the stakeholders, as they're called, will make any difference. It feels just like a bit of a sop to the fans, just to keep them quiet. So there's a lot of talk and a lot of action to do in this, and I'm not quite sure it takes us. I think we're all kind of waiting to see what happens next, really, in this one.
Let's take you through some of the main points from the charter. There's a lot of words there, isn't there? I'll take you through it quickly. Additional rules and regulations to ensure the principles of the Premier League and open competition are protected. A new owners' charter that all club owners will be required to sign up to, committing them to the core principles of the Premier League. Breaches of these rules and the charter will be subject to significant sanctions. We're enlisting the support of government to bring in appropriate legislation to protect football's open pyramid, principles of sporting merit, and the integrity of the football community. Right, so basically, Jules, this all means that despite what we're hearing from Florentino Perez, a Super League is not going to happen.
Well, it won't be happening if these new rules or new regulations or legislation is coming into place, and it will. And what's interesting, of course, is who's driving this. Are the other 14 clubs, the one outside of the top 6, who threaten or try to force their breakaway and they move out of the football as we know it right now. And those 14 clubs want more protection, and rightly so. They don't want any more of these Super League project incidents like we saw 2 weeks ago now. And they're right. And because, as we know, to vote for it, you need 14 of the 20 votes of the 20 Premier League clubs. Even if the top 6 are against it, the other 14, if everybody votes for it, then it will pass. And that will probably be the next step. And like you say, for Florentino Perez and Andrea Agnelli, probably the last nail in the coffin of the Super League.
That's it? It's dead, Mark?
I think so, yeah. I don't see how it survives in its current form. I think the big clubs will always want to have a bigger slice of the pie, and I'm sure they'll come back with some kind of redesigned attempt to do it in maybe 2 or 3 years' time. But as it stands right now, I think it's dead. And I think, let's be honest, Andrea Agnelli's got bigger problems. He's got to get Juventus in the Champions League, which it'd be quite embarrassing if one of the lead figures in the Super League miss out on the Champions League by finishing 5th in Serie A. So I think he needs to deal with more immediate problems right now than the Super League.
A lot more from Mark and Jules. Well, not that much more, because Gav's involved as well, as they go into a deep dive on the Glazers and their ownership of Manchester United. It's well worth listening to the latest edition of the Gav and Jules podcast. Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week, subscribe to ESPN+.